Hi there. I'm Aileen. My dad screamed at me, called me ungrateful, and told me to get out and not come back. So I left. But what if I told you? That wasn't even the worst part. What if I told you I'd spent years quietly paying their bills, only to find out they were stealing behind my back? That my own mother faked being sick just to get a few $100s more out of me? That my brother trashed my car, and they all said I should just let it go? Yeah. You think getting kicked out was the end? It was just the beginning. I stepped inside with 2 grocery bags cutting into my fingers, the cold still clinging to my coat. The air in the house wasn't warm. It never was. Not in temperature, not in spirit. Travis was on the couch like always, eyes glued to his game controller, not even a glance in my direction. Mom stood by the sink, drying a glass that was already spotless, avoiding eye contact. My father, Gordon, was waiting in the living room doorway like a judge ready to deliver a sentence. "You got a minute?" he said without even a hello. I nodded, set the bags on the counter. "Sure. What's going on?" His lips tightened. "We've been talking, and it's time you step up." I knew that tone, the same one he used when I was 8 and forgot to sweep the porch. Except this wasn't about chores. "Step up how?" He folded his arms. "The mortgage. It's crushing us. You've got a good job. It's time you cover it, fully. We can't keep doing this month to month." I blinked. "Wait, what? I've already been helping? Groceries, utilities?" Mom chimed in without turning around. "You make more than any of us ever did. You live alone, no kids, no husband. What are you spending it on anyway?" Travis snorted from the couch, probably on her new couch or yoga crap. I turned to him, jaw clenched. "Excuse me? You're always acting like you're better than us," he muttered, not looking away from the screen. "Maybe it's time you proved you're part of the family." I took a breath, trying to keep it together. I've been supporting this house in pieces for years. Mortgage? That's a huge step, and it's not something I agreed to. Dad stepped forward. "You're being selfish, Aileen. We raised you, fed you, gave you a roof." "I was flipping burgers at 16 to buy my own textbooks," I snapped. He didn't flinch. "We expected more from you." I looked at each of them, Travis lounging like he owned the place, Mom acting like I was the stranger, Dad judging me like I was the failure. My chest was tight, but something in me shifted. I'd carried their weight for years, quietly, out of guilt, out of duty, but now they wanted my spine too. "No," I said simply. "What do you mean, no?" Dad's voice rose. "I'm not taking over the mortgage." There was a pause, then his face turned red. "You ungrateful little brat, get out, and don't come back." The room went still. I looked at him, then at Mom, her face unreadable, and Travis, still pretending I didn't exist. I didn't cry, I didn't yell. I just grabbed my bag, turned, and walked out. The front door closed behind me like a judge's gavel. Cold air hit my face, but I welcomed it. He said I wasn't welcome anymore, but in that moment, I realized I'd never truly been. By the time I got back to my apartment, the sky had turned an ugly slate. I didn't turn on the lights, I didn't take off my coat. I just sank into the couch and stared at nothing while the silence settled thick around me. The grocery bags were still in the car. I couldn't care less. Let the milk spoil. Let the eggs freeze. I wasn't crying. I hadn't since my 20s. The ache didn't come out in tears. It sat in my jaw, in my fists, in the throbbing vein at my temple. My father's words kept replaying like a broken voicemail. "Ungrateful. Don't come back." Ungrateful. The word gnawed at something deep inside me. For years I paid the light bills when they couldn't. Covered the heating bill one winter when the furnace went out. Paid for Travis's rent after he got evicted. Not once, but twice. Never a thank you. Just silence. Or worse, expectation. Marla used to call it helping your family, but it never went both ways. They never once asked how I was doing. Not after my breakup. Not after I got laid off that one year. All they cared about was what I could provide. Like the time the mortgage hit 3 months behind. I paid it, quietly, so they wouldn't lose the house. No fanfare. No recognition. I wasn't doing it for praise, but I didn't expect to be treated like a burden either. And then there was that day in 2021. I'd refused to lie on a reference for Travis. He was applying for a management job he had no business landing. That same night, Gordon followed me into the garage. He stood there, arms crossed, said, "If you can't back up your brother, don't expect a piece of this house when I die." It wasn't even subtle. "You mean the house I've been helping you keep?" I asked. He didn't blink. Family loyalty isn't transactional. I remember choking on that. Loyalty? I'd been breaking my back to keep them afloat, and he was standing there like a king, threatening to erase me over one honest decision. I didn't speak for 2 weeks after that. Not out of fear, out of exhaustion. Tonight, as I sat in the dark, that memory came roaring back. The cold words, the shrug of entitlement. He threatened to cut me off, but all I ever wanted was to cut free. I didn't sleep much after that night. The next few days passed in a strange sort of haze. Work, coffee, a few half-eaten meals. My phone stayed silent, like everyone in that house had collectively agreed I no longer existed. That part was fine. I preferred the quiet over fake apologies. It was Wednesday morning when I noticed the alert from my banking app. Auto payment failed. I frowned. It was for the monthly transfer I used to send to my dad's account, the one labeled mortgage support. I had paused it after getting kicked out, but something about seeing the notification stirred something in me. I sat at my desk, half distracted from my spreadsheets, and opened the folder where I used to keep all the payment confirmations. The dates lined up, amounts steady. I had done my part, every single month. On my lunch break, I stepped outside and found a quiet bench in the office courtyard. I tapped in the number to the mortgage provider. Just curiosity, I told myself, just to confirm it was still being covered without me. A woman named Tanya picked up, polite and scripted. I gave her the address, said I used to help make payments. She pulled up the record. There was a pause. "I'm seeing multiple missed payments," she said gently. "Looks like the account has been delinquent for nearly 8 months. 8 months. I blinked. "I'm sorry, that can't be right. I sent money every month, thousands, directly to my father." She cleared her throat. "We've received partial amounts a couple of times, but nothing consistent. And not under your name." I didn't respond. My hands felt cold, even in the sunlight. I stared ahead at nothing, hearing the buzzing in my ears grow louder. They hadn't paid. Not with the money I sent, not once. They lied. They looked me in the face every Sunday, complained about bills, begged for help, and never said a word about being months behind. They took what I gave and used it for... what? I didn't even want to guess. I hung up. Back in the office stairwell, I stared at the wall for a long time. Everything they'd said, about helping the family, about doing my part, it was never about keeping the lights on or saving the house. They didn't just take my money, they gambled with my trust. Now it's my turn. That night I couldn't stop pacing. The apartment lights were off, but the glow from the street lamps outside painted long shadows across the floor. I needed quiet, stillness, but none of it came. Then my phone buzzed. Mom, 2 missed calls. I stared at the screen until it dimmed. She hadn't called since the night Dad screamed at me to leave. Now suddenly she remembered I existed? I didn't call back, didn't even open the voicemail. But that name, glowing on the screen, pulled me back to something I thought I'd buried. It was last fall, October, I think. I was at the office scrambling to finish a project when my phone rang. Marla's voice trembled on the other end. "I collapsed," she whispered. "I was alone in the bathroom for hours. I couldn't move. I'm scared, honey." I dropped everything, cleared my afternoon meetings, booked the earliest train back to Medford, sat the whole ride with my chest in knots, imagining her unconscious on the tile, cold and helpless. I reached the house, breathless, heart pounding. She was in the living room, on the couch, eating crackers and watching game shows. Her face lit up like I'd just brought her a birthday cake. "Oh, honey, you got here fast. I'm feeling a little better now. Can we talk about that loan I mentioned?" I didn't even sit down. My body just locked. "You told me you collapsed," I said. She waved her hand. "I did, for a little bit, but I just needed you to come. You've been so distant." That night, I wrote her a check. I didn't speak much, just handed it over and left. I hated myself for not screaming. Back in my kitchen now, I leaned against the counter and stared at my phone again. This wasn't forgetfulness. This wasn't a misunderstanding. That day wasn't the only time. It was a pattern. Lies wrapped in love. Guilt wearing a mother's perfume. I opened the missed call log and deleted it without listening. That was the last time I came running, I said aloud to no one. The next time they cried wolf, they'd find no one waiting at the door. The next morning, I was halfway down the stairs of my building, keys in hand, when I saw it. My car sat under a dusting of pollen and early spring chill, but it was the deep, jagged scratch slicing across the driver's door that stopped me cold. One side mirror hung limp, cracked in two like it had been kicked. The vandal didn't even try to hide it. It was personal, precise. Only a handful of people knew where I lived now, and I could count on one hand the ones who would want to send a message. I snapped a photo, heart pounding, and went back upstairs. Travis picked up on the second ring. "Wow, you're up early," he said, like this was a Sunday brunch call. "You touched my car." A pause. "Paranoid much? Maybe some punk just didn't like your parking job." "Only 3 people know this address," I said. "You're one of them." He laughed, a slow, greasy sound. "And if I did? You gonna call the cops on your own brother? That's rich." I didn't answer. He filled the silence. "We're family, Aileen. This whole grudge you're holding, it's ugly. You don't cut blood over a few scratches." I hung up. Less than 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. Mom. "Aileen, honey, please don't escalate this," she said in that overly sweet tone she saved for when she was about to excuse something awful. "Travis has been under a lot of stress. He didn't mean anything by it." "He vandalized my car, Mom." "Oh, he's just lashing out. You know how sensitive he is? I raised you to be more reasonable than this." I clenched my jaw. "You raised me to clean up after him." She went quiet. "This isn't stress. This is destruction," I said. "Next time I press charges." "You don't mean that." "I do." She tried softening again. "Come on, baby. You really want to go that far over a mirror?" They wanted me to play nice while they lit matches. I warned them. Next time I'd bring water and the fire marshal. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table sipping lukewarm tea, flipping through old notebooks I hadn't opened in months. My eyes skimmed a post-it I'd slapped on a page back in 2022. Missing $200. Don't forget. I paused. My stomach tightened. I remembered exactly when that was. The week I visited home because Marla claimed her arthritis had flared up. I stayed the weekend, even ran errands, left my purse in the guest room while I helped her cook. The cash was gone when I got back. I'd chalked it up to a mistake. Maybe I miscounted, but I wrote the note anyway, just in case. And then the memory sharpened. That night, I caught Travis coming out of my room. He smiled like nothing was off. "Looking for nail clippers," he'd said, tapping his pocket. I'd gone straight to him. "You took from me," he scoffed. "What are you talking about?" I told him the amount, the missing money, the note. He laughed, real casual. "Wow, paranoid much?" I turned to Mom. "You're seriously going to let him lie to my face?" She waved me off. "You probably misplaced it. You know how scattered you get when you're tired." "I checked the hallway cam," I said. "It caught him going into my room when I was outside with you." She didn't flinch. "Maybe he needed it for something important. He's been having a hard time." "Then ask," I snapped. "Don't steal." "He's your brother," she said. "Don't turn this into drama." I left early the next morning. Didn't say goodbye. Now at my kitchen table, I opened my banking app and started changing every password. Set 2-factor codes. Removed all linked accounts. They stole from me once, lied to my face, and got away with it. Not anymore. They could steal from me once. But now, every boundary I draw comes with consequences. By the time the next weekend rolled around, my resolve had crystallized into something sharper, cold, precise. So when Judith, the neighbor in Unit 3B, knocked on my door with an invitation to the HOA's monthly mixer, I didn't think much of it. "Come by," she said. "Light snacks, a few announcements, nothing heavy." I figured small talk and cheap wine might distract me. What I didn't expect was to walk into the community clubhouse and see my father standing at the front of the room, flipping through stapled papers like he was about to deliver a sermon. I froze mid-step. He didn't see me yet. Marla sat beside him, pretending to be modest with her eyes downcast and a faux shy smile. Travis leaned against the back wall, arms crossed, face unreadable. I thought about walking out, but Judith had already waved me in, smiling like she was proud to have dragged me there, so I stayed. The meeting opened with routine announcements, parking rules, landscaping updates. I stood near the back, arms folded, but then the mic passed to Gordon and everything changed. "I hate to bring up personal matters," he began, his voice rehearsed and dripping with pity. "But I think this community deserves transparency, especially when someone among us has taken advantage of trust, of family, and of kindness." Heads turned, my stomach clenched. "I have a daughter," he continued, "who many of you know. She's decided that family obligations don't matter anymore, that leaving her ill mother and struggling brother behind is justified if it helps her keep her hands clean. Some even say she took money meant for her brother's treatment, and never looked back." Gasps, whispers. My face burned, but I didn't flinch. Marla pressed a tissue to her nose like she was trying not to cry. Travis smirked. He looked at me then, daring me to explode. I didn't move, didn't shout, didn't give them the performance they were baiting. Instead, I took 3 slow steps forward. The room quieted like someone had cut the audio. I stopped a few feet from Gordon, locked eyes with him, and said calmly, "You just lit a match on everything you once had left." He blinked, lips parted, but I didn't give him time to answer. I turned and walked out. I didn't slam the door, didn't run. I let the silence follow me out, every step echoing louder than any lie he told. They wanted an audience. They'll get one, just not the kind they'll enjoy. I didn't sleep much those 4 nights. Each evening after work, I sat at my kitchen table with a folder, laptop open, combing through emails, bank statements, voicemail transcriptions, everything. Not out of spite, out of necessity. They made it public first. Now I'd make it clear. So when Thursday came and Judith texted, "Tonight's HOA gathering, 7 p.m., you coming?" I replied with just one word, "Yes." I arrived 5 minutes early, clutching a manila folder thick with truth. No nerves this time, only clarity. Inside the clubhouse, the same faces were scattered among folding chairs and coffee-stained tables. Gordon leaned against the podium, looking relaxed. Marla sat stiff beside him, lips pressed. Travis hovered in the back like an uninvited shadow. Judith gave me a subtle nod and slid her bag off the seat next to her. I walked straight to the front and turned to face the room. "Before we begin," I said calmly, "I'd like to respond to some things that were said here 4 days ago." A few people exchanged glances. Gordon smirked. "I didn't come here to argue," I continued, pulling the folder open. "I came to clarify. With evidence." I lifted the first page. "Here are records of every transfer I've made to my parents' account over the last 5 years. Monthly payments, groceries, bills, over $68,000 in total." A few heads turned. A few murmurs rose. "These," I said, holding up printed screenshots, "are emails from Marla asking for help, sometimes calling me at 3 a.m. Next, I played a short clip from my phone. Travis's voice, unmistakable, laughing. "Yeah, I borrowed a little. What, you gonna call the cops on your own brother?" I let the silence settle before the final blow. "This is a mortgage delinquency notice," I said, holding it up. 8 months overdue, even though I sent money every single month. Ask yourself, where did it go? Gordon started to speak, but Judith raised a hand. Let her finish. I turned to the room. They weren't just ungrateful, they lied, they manipulated, and when I stopped playing along, they tried to bury me publicly. I turned back to Gordon. "You dragged my name through the mud in front of these people, but receipts don't lie." He opened his mouth again. The HOA chair cut in sharp. "Sir, I think you should sit down." Marla looked away. Travis shifted uncomfortably. Judith stood beside me. "We always knew who the steady one was." I nodded, swallowing the heat in my throat. "I didn't want this, but I won't be quiet anymore." I handed the folder to the HOA chair and walked out. Not broken, not bitter, just done. This wasn't revenge. This was exposure, and they brought it on themselves. The clubhouse door clicked shut behind me, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I had to look over my shoulder. The following days moved quietly. No surprise calls, no guilt-laced voicemails, just stillness. I didn't hear from the HOA, but I heard things. That Gordon lost his contract to manage the community's maintenance budget. That Travis left town. Needed a reset, someone said. Marla stopped showing up to Sunday services altogether. I didn't celebrate. There was nothing victorious about it. It was just air returning to my lungs. One Sunday morning, I slept in with the windows cracked open, the breeze making the blinds sway. My phone didn't ring. No alarms, no demands. I made eggs, ate them slow. Sipped coffee like time wasn't chasing me anymore. Later that afternoon, I walked to the old park near Charles River, the same place I'd go as a teenager when home felt too small and too loud. There I sat on a bench under a wide maple, watching ducks chase each other on the water. A little girl ran circles around her father while he held out a juice pouch. I smiled. Not at them, but at the feeling that nothing in this moment belonged to anyone but me. I didn't bring a phone. No planner, no noise, just myself. When the sun began to dip, I strolled back home. My feet moved slowly, but not out of fatigue, out of comfort. Peace wasn't something I fought for anymore. It just arrived. Back at my apartment, I powered up my laptop to check emails. Near the bottom of my inbox, there it was. One unread message. Subject, "We're sorry." From Marla. I hovered for a beat, then clicked. The message wasn't long. A few lines. The kind of apology that tries to say, "Let's forget," without ever saying, "I was wrong." I read it once, then again. And I archived it. No reply needed. I leaned back, looked around my quiet apartment and whispered, more to myself than anyone else, "I forgive you, but from here, I live for me." Healing isn't loud. Sometimes it just sounds like your own footsteps, walking away for good. Looking back now, I don't carry hate in my chest. I carry clarity. For years I thought family meant sacrifice without boundaries. That love had to be earned through silence, through doing more, giving more, hurting quietly. But that's not love. That's control wearing a familiar face. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You can love your family and still say no. You can care deeply and still walk away when your peace is the price. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is choose yourself. To anyone out there who feels like they owe their soul just to stay accepted, you don't. Your worth is not measured by what you tolerate. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you love to finally breathe? What did freedom look like for you? Let's talk in the comments. If this story hit home for you, leave a 1 in the comments. Or tell me where you're watching from. And if it didn't quite land with you, I want to know why. Let's learn together. And hey, if you made it this far, maybe it's time we stay connected. Subscribe for more real stories like this. Stories that dig deep, make us think, and remind us we're not alone. Thanks for listening. Till the next one.